My name is Kylie Williams. I'm a professor of podiatry at Monash University in Melbourne, Australia. My background is a researcher as well as a clinical podiatrist. So I work with a lot of kids who walk on their tiptoes, and I do a lot of research with kids who walk on their tiptoes.
Would you consider yourself to be the leading expert in toe walking in the world?
No.
No?
Nah. I've published more than any other researcher in an area of toe walking. So there's lots of different conditions that cause kids to walk on their tiptoes. I've published a lot on idiopathic toe walking. So toe walking where there is absolutely no reason that we can find as to why these kids would.
Yeah.
So that's kind of been my thing quite some time, and have a substantial number of publications. I've been joined by some amazing young researchers at the time as well, and collaborated with others all around the world. So published with colleagues in the United States and here in the UK to try and understand that toe walking is it's an international thing.
Yeah.
And we still don't know why some kids walk on their tiptoes.
So what is toe walking?
Toe walking, the real definition, or the biomechanical definition, is when the heel doesn't make contact with the ground, or it early lifts. So the heel actually lifts earlier than it's meant to at the gait cycle. Basically, walking on the front of your foot.
Yeah.
The ball of your foot.
And what are some of the after effects or side effects of toe walking?
So for some kids, absolutely nothing. So for some kids, toe walking gives them something we don't really understand. It gives them movement. It gives them a bounce. Shake these up a little bit. But for some kids who toe walk for a prolonged period of time, it can cause tightness in muscles, particularly the calf muscle. It can cause tightness in behind the legs of a hamstring muscle, or even in the front of the hip, so the hip flexors. It can also, we're seeing kids who toe walk for a long period of time change how their bones look, and even the thickness of the bones. So their heel bone might be small and narrow, and the front of their foot being wide and splayed, and even really thick forefoot bones. Some kids also really describe that they get, and kids that I've seen get really sore skin at the front of their foot. So they're spending so much time on their tiptoes that the skin at the ball of their foot gets really rough and dry, can become cracked and really sore as well. But not all kids get that, just some. Yeah. But those are the ones that we often are more concerned about, because kids shouldn't be in pain.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. You've done lots of research over the years. What has been the research you're most proud of, and why?
Yeah. One of the ones that I'm probably the most proud of was telling children's and family stories. So I had an amazing project with a parent author and some physio colleagues, and we interviewed a lot of families, and we interviewed families and the children about their toe walking journey. And we were able to collect things of how these kids moved through the healthcare system, where there'd been confusing messages, how we can improve our messaging as health professionals. So a lot of the work that I do is trying to help health professionals help families better. Within that one, we can improve our messaging, and our families told us how we can do it. And so that's been an area that's helped drive some of my research moving forward into communication in different conditions as well.
So how can we improve our communication about it?
Because toe walking is such a variable condition, I think we can stop being so definite that every single treatment that is in my scope of practice. So as a podiatrist, I don't do surgery. So if I'm communicating with a parent, some of mine might be, hey, this is a treatment that I can provide, but a physio could provide this, a surgeon could provide this, a physician might be able to provide this. Knowing all of those, giving families choice, options, but also knowing when I'm not the right person and I need to get you to someone else, because what you actually need is way out of my wheelhouse. So being able to work with a collaborative team is really important. And that toe walking in its presentation as a child grows might actually change. It might actually be okay for a while, and then it's not. And recognizing as a health professional when I need to escalate care for those families.
So what is the typical journey of typical is maybe a slightly dangerous word, but like a journey of a toe walker that you have experienced maybe right from an early age to a slightly later age. What can you walk us through those steps?
Yeah, there's probably 3 typical journeys. So the typical journey of a young child who will come in, they're toe walking some of the time, even all of the time that they're quite young.
Around what age?
3. We're seeing them, they're able to get their heels to the ground. They're able to spend time squatting, playing, jumping with heels flat on the ground with no issues. Now, for some of those kids, the typical journey might be we watch and wait and we make sure they're able to keep up with their friends, play, keep their heels on the ground, and we just watch and wait. And they're the great sort of kids that we might do some positive messaging like for. We might do some play-based messaging. We might encourage activities that help keep feet on the ground. And then one day something clicks and they decide toe walking isn't for them anymore. The challenge is we can never predict who these kids are, but that can be a very typical journey for some kids. And then for some, they come in and they don't meet a threshold for diagnosis, but they love toe walking. Could be described as really high drive to toe walk. They're high, they can get down, but they don't like to get down. And they're the ones that we will probably be working a little bit more proactively with to try and encourage, because if you never know what it's like to feel your heel on the ground, why would you change with toe? Challenge is, unless you see a lot of kids who toe walk, it's hard to tell that those two typical journeys apart. They're often the kids that do need more. They do need more healthcare intervention. They may or may not get a diagnosis of another condition in their journey, and it might have been too early when they were young to work that. And so they often need to just keep connected with health professionals while they're toe walking. Sometimes that's just a visit once a year to someone who's able to give their child a once-over. Sometimes it can be a little bit more intensive. And then there's our typical journey of the kids who can't get their heels to the ground. And that might be for all the different medical reasons, and they are the ones that need ongoing health professional intervention to make sure we've matched the reason why they're toe walking with what the right treatment might be based on what the condition actually is that's going to toe walk.
And what are some of the treatments for that group of people?
Yeah, so some of it, again, could be watch and wait. We could be waiting to see. Sometimes it is surgery. Sometimes it might be more aggressive treatments like serial casting, sometimes even ankle foot orthoses, so big orthoses that go up to the back of the knee. And I think one of the key things is why we're doing that. And we are often in those kids with some of those conditions is we're trying to keep an ankle raised because we know it will get worse with time. So we're trying to stop what we call stop regression, stop things from getting worse, because we know that some of those healthcare conditions get worse with time if we don't do anything. So we're trying to maintain what we've got at the start. And so we do go a little harder with those kids. We encourage a lot more activity, physical activity, a lot more time with the heels on the ground. They may be the children that end up with having surgery down the track, or they may be kids that sleep in special splits, and there may be kids that wear different shoes and orthotics.
What's the kind of emotional side of toe walking, and what beyond the physical, what do you see from an early age to a later age in terms of both the kind of social side of it and also the emotional side between the parent and the child? And
yeah, toe walking stresses families out, and for good reason. I'm a parent. One of my kids toe walk, and still toe walks, and it does. You want your kids innately to move like all the other kids, and when your kid isn't moving like the other kids, it can cause concern and worry. Often these kids have no clue, they don't care, and they often Some of them even really like toe walking, and if you take it away from them, it creates some unease. And that's a really hard one to actually balance. There are some older kids that are being teased, and as a health professional, I will treat any child being teased or their quality of life is being affected. I will really throw as many treatments as I've got at those kids. Whereas the other kids, often they just don't care, and that's really hard as a parent because you want the best for your child. And your child looks a bit different. And so what do you do? And so that's a really unique, I can't give any advice for that because that's a really unique family dynamic. Because parents will often say to me, what would you do? It's like, yeah, what I would do for my kid is very different. How you do things. So it is really about working with a family and their goals, what's important to them, what's not going to mess the family dynamic up, because exercises are hard work, man. If you're not an exercisey family, oh my goodness, putting exercises into your family program is actually really difficult. That's why having a bucket of treatments are really important for kids.
Yes. And what was your first reaction when you found out about the Aerlos?
First reaction was here we go again. There's another thing. You told me I could be honest.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely.
But I continue to always be intrigued. I am continually curious. I think families need lots of options. And where there are different types of options, it actually helps families to be guided. I hoped innately, as I've seen with other things that come on the block, that they wouldn't overpromise. And this is going to be the fix for everything. And unfortunately, we've seen that in the past, that this will be your cure. And it's a really bold claim and it's never played out yet. However, I think it's exciting when families have different options. So I was curious.
Yeah. And speaking of which,
I get the first look.
Yes. So this here is the manufactured prototypes come from overseas factory.
They look like a lot of shoes. They're heavier than I thought, which is good. So one of the shoes that often use is and I could say it because I've published it, a Nike Air Force One.
Yeah.
And we've used them in clinical trials, and they work really well because they're really stiff. But it's full octopus shoes. They're cool.
It's very stable. So because these splay out, like so they kind of, because when you put the weight on, they splay out more.
Yeah.
When we've had the kids test them in the lab, they first of all they love them.
Oh, they look really
But second of all, a lot of the kids that we put them on, their stance changes immediately, and like some of them stop toe walking outside of the shoes as well.
Yeah.
In 2 weeks, I mean, the kind of change that happened was quite drastic. But what's your thoughts, your initial impressions?
I like them. I like quirky shoes. It doesn't take much. I love shoes to start with.
Yeah.
I think families having options are ideal. And especially if the options, a lot of orthopedic shoes. So I'm not sure what the price point is going to be.
Yeah.
But orthopedic shoes for families are obscenely expensive. And
these are a lot less expensive than.
And I get that there's a lot of R&D that goes into therapeutic footwear.
Yeah.
But when a family budget for something that needs to be replaced every 4 to 6 months is for Australian $500, so £250, it is big money. Whoa. Whereas often when we're using assistive technology like AFOs or orthoses, they will last a child a year to 2 years. So you've got that extended cost. But all kids need to wear shoes. And this is why shoes can be a great treatment. So especially for those kids who are toe walking some of the time, and we want to try and encourage them to be on the ground. What's the knit top? How have you found that lasting?
It's water resistant.
Yeah.
So it's there's two layers of knit basically on top of each other. It's pretty strong. So the actual in terms of getting muddy or something, it might have to put it through the washing machine.
Yes.
It's pretty sturdy. I mean, we put this leather thing round it basically because
Keep the foot in.
yes, to keep the foot in, but also to like the toes going into the end and then causing the knit to like rupture at the end of the shoe.
Yeah. And I really like the option in shoes for adjustability, especially around.
In terms of who would you be looking to like recommend these for if you were to recommend them?
So when I see kids and I go through where I think they are in the spectrum of treatment,
Yeah.
most of my kids who I have on the let's just watch and wait, let's supervise and neglect, let's see what we're going to do. But your kids actually would probably benefit from some harder shoes. Now, I am shoe agnostic. I don't recommend one. I never lock myself down. I'm a researcher, which means I've got to be impartial to anything. And so I give a list, and I've got a list of about 10 shoes in Australia that I know have very specific features.
Okay.
And then I say to families, hey, I've recommended these because of these features. And from these features, you're going to find it in these brands. If you find them in other brands, can you let me know so I can put them on my list? Or if all of a sudden you can't find those, can you let me know because I need to scratch it off my list? So I often have my families, I try and educate my families as much as possible so they don't rely on me. They're able to go out, make choices for their own family budget, as well as what sort of options are important for them.
Yeah. Can I briefly, I know we've got like 1 minute, but can I get your reaction to this? This is our illustrated children's book that I wrote and had illustrated. The basics is about this toe-walking squid that goes on his journey to find his balance and his confidence.
Oh, how cute. I think children's stories are incredibly important, and especially for the kids who are concerned. I do have concerns for when children aren't concerned. Sometimes if we message things, they will sit back and go, oh, should I be worried?
Self-awareness.
I actually wasn't worried. And now I'm worried.
Yeah.
So I think there's a balance. I think we always do need stories for kids, especially for kids that can associate that story around what the journey is.
Well, at the start, at the very, very beginning, it sort of says, for every child that has ever been bullied or walked on wobbly legs, may you find foundation. So it's for that audience.
Those cohorts. And I think that's really, really important. I think children who are going through challenges, parents don't always have the language to talk to them about those. So I'd be testing it with families, testing it with other kids, getting their feedback. I give like when I co-design things with families, I'll get a bunch out and I'll sit down and have these sort of chats with them and take the very honest feedback and work out what works and what doesn't work. But I think it's important to have stories written that children can actually find words to talk to parents about what's going on.
Is there anything lastly you want to say to people out there, maybe that have toe walkers?
Just keep seeking health professional advice. Don't give up. If the health professional hasn't met your needs, there may be others that can help. But also, for some kids, be reassured that this isn't the end of the world. This is actually your health professionals, especially ones who've worked with a lot of kids who have toe walked. Trust your gut if it doesn't feel right, but also be reassured that a lot of kids with toe walking will get better with time and with not a heap of treatment. But if kids have pain, if kids are being bullied, if they are suffering self-confidence issues, if they're not keeping up with their friends, or if they're actually, we're at a stage and they're losing skills, be that noisy wheel and tell your health professional, tell the next health professional, tell anyone who will listen. They are the kids that need health professional support more than you.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You are so welcome.